knows how you come across somebody once in a while you shouldn't have messed with. That's me.
Well,
I am not an African American.
You're an Oreo cookie, white in the inside and black on the outside.
I don't have an afro, I have an Amerifro.
Talking that idiotic stuff you talk about, I will slap you.
Go ahead. Make my day.
Black as the ace of spades, but 100% American.
Heard around the world by everybody and their mama. The Jesse Lee Peterson Radio Show.
I have with me a man that I, for a long time, have had the utmost respect for. Even when I was a Democrat and I first heard of him, I'm like, wow, that's a smart man. And I saw that he was black, but I didn't think of the blackness first. I thought of, wow, that's a smart man. And I was a Democrat at the time, but I still had the utmost respect for him and his courage, his honesty, his insight. Dr. Thomas Sowell is with me, the Rose and Milton Freeman Senior Fellow on Public Policy at the Hoover Institution at Stanford University. He is a conservative thinker, an economist, and best-selling author of multiple books. Everybody and their mama. Dr. Sowell also writes a syndicated column that appears in more than 200 newspapers across the country. I wanted to talk to him today about his essay on trickle-down theory and tax cuts for the rich. And we're going to tell you how to get that as well. Dr. Sowell, good morning, sir, and welcome to the show. Thank you for being on.
Thank you for having me.
I have always, well, not always, for a long time, had the utmost respect for you, so it's really an honor to have you here. I graduated from high school, but because I grew up on a plantation, I didn't get a really good education. We were taken out of school to work the plantation. And so I'm going to ask you a question as though you and I are just speaking here, and the other folks will understand because we're going to make it simple. You write about an essay on trickle-down theory and tax cut for the rich. Can you tell me what that means when they say trickle-down theory, and how did that get started? What does it mean, and who started it, and why?
It started because, excuse me, back in the 1920s, Secretary of the Treasury, Mellon, said that the tax rates were so high that they weren't bringing in income. That is, that so many people were putting their money in tax shelters that the government wasn't collecting the money, even though the tax rates were astronomical. They were 73% in the top bracket at the time. And he said that if you were to cut those rates, it would pay people who were rich, who would put their money in tax shelters, take the money out of the tax shelters where they were getting a very low rate of return, and put them in the functioning economy where they'd get a higher rate of return now that the government wasn't going to be taking most of it away. The people who opposed him said that he was just trying to get a tax break for rich people so they'd have more money on the theory that money, that their greater prosperity would trickle down to the rest of us. Well, there was no such theory by Mellon or by anyone else. Years ago in my newspaper column, I challenged anyone to name any economist outside of an insane asylum who would ever advance the theory that you make the rich prosper so their prosperity will trickle down.
Hold on, Doctor. This is a quick break. We'll take it and come back and let you wind this up. This is amazing, folks. Back in a moment.
To us, he's a smooth operator. Smooth operator. Smooth operator. Smooth operator. Coast to coast, LA to Chicago, Western.
Dr. Thomas Sowell is with me, and again, it's an honor to have him here. I really respect him a whole lot. Dr. Sowell, you said that you asked anyone in your article to prove that the trickle-down theory works. Did anyone ever prove that to you or try to prove it?
No, what I challenged them was to name anybody who ever had any such theory. There is no such theory. The theory has been made up by people who don't want to see tax rates cut, and they claim that the ones who want to cut tax rates just want to make the rich more prosperous, so that their prosperity will trickle down. Nobody has ever made that argument for trickling down. And when I challenged them, and this was years ago, to this moment, I have never heard anyone come up with one person who had ever said any such thing.
But yet you hear a lot about that, especially now in this campaign and from the Democratic Party. You hear a lot about the trickle-down effect. Why are they saying it if it's not true, and why do people believe it?
Well, it's politically expedient. But even the Democrats weren't saying this until late in the 20th century, after the McGovern wing took over the Democratic Party. After all, John F. Kennedy was a Democrat, and John F. Kennedy made the same argument that Mellon had made in the 1920s. He said the tax rates are too high. They're so high they're not bringing in enough revenue. Cut their rate down. People will then take their money out of tax shelters. The economy will grow, and we'll get more revenue out of that than we will by keeping these high tax rates on paper that aren't bringing in revenue.
To me, it's just common sense, though. I don't know if because I run my own business that it's common sense, but it's just common sense. In your essay, you show that many people, academia and politicians, are able to get away with claiming that these tax cuts help the economy because of trickle-down theory. Why are they able to get away with it?
Well, if they all believe it, no one will ever hear anything different. I mean, you can turn on virtually any network at any time of the day and find somebody saying, in order to bring down this deficit, we have to raise the tax rates, as if raising the tax rates is going to bring in more tax revenue, which is not the case. I mean, anyone in business knows that you can't get more profit just by raising your prices.
Right.
You raise your prices, and people go to your competitors, and you lose money.
That's amazing. So do they expect to win by trying to deceive people in this manner, that we need to tax the rich and tax the rich and eventually things will get better? Is that an attempt to win the race?
Yes. In other words, Barack Obama, when he was first running for president in 2008, was asked by Charles Gibson of ABC News that he realized that the last time they cut the capital gains tax rate, the government collected more capital gains revenue than it ever had before. And he was aware of that. But that didn't. So it's not a question that Obama doesn't know this. If he didn't know it, he'd have enough economic advisors that he could tell him. The point is, what he really knows is that there are people out there who don't know it, and if he says these things, he can paint the Republicans as people who are trying to protect the rich, while he's trying to protect the working class and the poor. So he's not trying to collect more revenue for the government. He's trying to collect more votes for himself.
That's amazing. You write about, and you give us an example in your essay of Democratic President John F. Kennedy, whom I thought the Democrats had respect for and loved him, and he didn't believe in this trickle-down idea. Why don't they follow him and what he was doing? Because he did a pretty good job.
Well, this is only one of the many ways that the Democratic Party of today is very different from the Democratic Party of John F. Kennedy's day. Don't forget, it was John F. Kennedy who said, speaking of foreign affairs, we dare not tempt them with weakness. Well, his brother has been tempting all our enemies with weaknesses for years thereafter. And of course, today you see the effects in the Middle East of tempting your enemies with your weakness. When the Romans had the famous Roman peace, it was peace because the Romans was so militarily powerful that nobody dared to start a war with them.
And give the folks an example of, because a lot of people don't see it, in the few minutes we have left here, an example of how we attempted our enemy with weakness.
Oh, my gosh. Just going around, well, right now, for example, Iran is moving toward a nuclear bomb, which can be a worldwide game changer. The world will never be the same if that country gets nuclear weapons.
Yes.
Obama is over there trying to talk with them. He's trying to get UN resolutions passed and so on. None of that is going to do a thing to stop Iran from getting a nuclear weapon.
Amazing. Dr. Sowell, tell the folks how to get all of your books, really, but especially this particular essay.
Well, they can go to my website, which is www.tsowell.com. In fact, they can read the essay free of charge on my website. They just click on where it says tax cuts, and the whole thing will come up there. If they want their own copy, it will also tell them where they can buy a hard copy.
Well, I really recommend that they get it and that they read it because it's so well laid out. I can't even come up with an argument against it because you laid it out even for the blind to see. And so I really encourage the American people to get this and get it right away.
Oh, thank you for that.
Last question. What do you predict that will happen? I guess we all don't know exactly, but November 6th.
One of two things will happen. Either they will vote Obama out, or we can kiss America goodbye as the kind of country that we have known for all these, for more than 2 centuries.
Yeah. I hope that doesn't happen. I read in one of your articles, you said that, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't have it in front of me, you find it interesting that people call it greed when you want to earn and keep your own, but it's not greed to want to take away from others.
Oh, yes. And I think that's one of the corruptions of this administration. I mean, the biggest corruption is when you corrupt the people themselves.
Yeah, I agree. Dr. Sowell, Thomas Sowell, thank you, sir, for being with me, and thank you for what you do for this great country.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye now. Okay, 888-775-3773. 888-77-JESSE. Back in a moment.